The anime has returned. We're back at Black Clover, and the questions clear are now because we know from where we left off. Because we were at like a two-part Leopold, centered and focused portion of the anime that was like right before he was gonna get his fight against that Dark Disciple weeks and weeks and weeks ago. And obviously, the anime had to take a break because of all the crazy Corona stuff going on. But now we have we're seeing what the anime was doing with Leopold, and there was definitely some cool stuff set up with his magic and some of his spells. Clearly, I think this panel though has my most hype. This one personally has my most hype. And I know there's like the cool big lion behind him with the three different spiral flames coming out, which is really badass. It was really cool to see, but that wasn't where the thing that I obviously got my most focus on, and I'll explain why. This is the one that I am very hyped for, the most hyped for, when it comes to the future of Leopold and the future of the evolution simply of his character and what we're going to be getting with this guy. So as it were, like this chapter, this episode, went back to, they're fighting they're going after this giant spider, this giant spider that lives under the volcano in this, this dangerous magic region, and Leopold's got, he's got personal beef. I mean, as much as personal beef, but he's got issue because this is a big hype moment for him. He's with the other Crimson Lions. This is right after the events of the Elf Resurrection arc, where he was getting close to breaking a limit and kind of getting way more powerful, but unfortunately he lost before he kind of got to that spot, and he kind of broke through here, and he was able to clearly become more powerful, fight against this giant spider and defeat it. This guy's been, even though the spider's been running away from Marileona, it was seemingly cocky enough to fight Leopold, and I was happy to see this because one thing in Black Clover that I would say, I don't want to say it's lacking, but we don't get to see enough of it, and I'm glad that the anime is including it, and I'm hoping that whenever they do anime, I don't want to say filler, whenever they do anime original stuff, because obviously this whole mini arc, but training, getting ready for the training before they do the time skip, and if you're an anime only, I won't go much into it. It's not a long time skip, but I nothing that will spoil it for you, but getting up to the fight against the Spade Kingdom, and we know that Tabata is actually the one that he's the one that wrote this. He's the one that got this all set up and had a lot of this planned out for what was to come in this arc. And that's what makes me the most interested in this shot right here, because this was just an anime original thing, oh yeah, it's just some random scene they added in where he shoots a big beam out of his hand. I wouldn't be like, whatever. But this is planned by Tabata, and I'm going to tell you why I think it's really cool. So two of the things rather that I've mentioned that are on my wish list for either Fairy Tail or Black Clover to have is having either a plasma wizard or a radiation wizard. And from the looks of it, it looks like maybe that's what Leopold's beam is, because we know how his magic primarily works. He's shooting these big spiral flame attacks at people, and the easiest way I can describe it, if you've never seen it, or if you know what I mean, what I'm referencing, or if you haven't seen it, Shin Godzilla. So there's a version of Godzilla, and instead of the straight atomic breath that you see in the other movies, it starts out as just a fire breath, and then when he gets to a certain stage in his evolution, it concentrates. You see the big wide range fire breath, and then it slowly starts getting smaller and smaller, and it condenses into this purple beam and just completely just starts searing through stuff. It's like a giant plasma beam of radiation, and obviously that's not the exact same power that Leopold has, but when you look at the way this is and the way that his power is, that it must, I think personally it's a relatable form of like I said, concentrated energy, concentrated fire that got down into this state to become essentially like a giant beam. So also you can think of kind of like a blowtorch, and just maybe he's gonna keep focusing his fire beams down smaller and smaller to make them way more concentrated. Plus, I think they'll look more badass. Tabata, though, it'll probably be way easier to draw. You're literally just drawing a line and probably adding some shading to say, hey, look, it's like a bluish color. Something like that I think would be super badass to have for Leopold. And we got some other good stuff in the episode. Like there was some like a nice little scene where Asta picked up Noel because there was like lava coming, and he's just like, we have to get the hell out of here. There was a lot of good stuff with Leopold. I did like when Leopold was like kind of like breaking through his limits. The sleeves on his outfit were getting burnt by the fire, just because. And obviously, like, these characters, like, I assume, when it comes to, like, oh, yeah, they're using fire and stuff. It's kind of like, Fuego Leon using his firearm. It's like, they can probably control the temperature and stuff. So you can have fire that's not actually that hot versus, like, actual, like, normal, the intensity of your flames. And on top of that, probably there's, like, a layer of control over, like, clothes and stuff. Otherwise, any fire user that just, they would completely incinerate their clothes every time. But that part was super badass. I really like that additional effect of just like he's seeing the clothing on his arms just burn off as he's using the spell. And there's like discussion of like the explosive increase in his magic from doing this. I thought that was really cool. I'm very hyped to see what Leopold has to offer, because personally I think Leopold, like, for a long time, Leopold has been a very underutilized character who's been in a pretty high position, because he declared himself a rival to Asta way back near the start of the series, and he's, he is the sibling of Fuego Leon and Mera Leona, like two very big characters. So seeing him kind of like in that position and not really get the level of treatment the level of treatment you would expect from a character that's kind of like hyped up at that position, that are like pretty early on, and we're finally, we're finally getting that right now in the series. Like, I always say in the anime, this was an impressive ordeal. Like, defeating the spider that was revealed that the spider was being boosted by a magic item. It was making it way more powerful. So I'm sure a lot of people that were freaking out that some random spider was able to mess with Asta and stuff is it's boosted, so it's not just some random ass spider. Oh, I guess it is, but it's a buffed random spider. But seeing Leopold do this in the anime and then in the manga, what he did recently with one of the Dark Disciples, and I won't spoil it. I mean, the only thing you can really kind of go off of right now is like, oh yeah, he beat a character. It's nothing that's gonna really, it's nothing that even like hearing, oh yeah, he beat a guy is gonna matter. I won't spoil it if you're an anime only, but yeah, I'm really interested in seeing Leopold's progress. And like I said, I really want to see him go down this like concentrated plasma beam line, because that'll be super badass. Imagine also if he gets like, makes like a sword, and he has like a sword of this concentrated like welding torch plasma beam style fire. Think how badass that would be, just that like have that part of his arsenal. I mean, because right now, again, I won't spoil it for any anime onlys that maybe peek in on this. His arsenal is mostly really just like the spiral flames and stuff, and I'd like to believe that because Tabata wrote did a lot of work on this anime original stuff, that it's canon, all of it, and that would include this beam. So I'm pretty hyped to see what's next in this. After this point, like, we're gonna be getting back to some more just fun content, I would imagine, before getting like where the anime is going to be for like the Spade War. Because I think right now we're like 30 chapters ahead in the manga. I'd like to get at least another 10 chapters or so. Maybe 5, because 10 kind of seems long. But I'd say at least 5 more chapters in the manga before we get back to the anime. Or before the anime gets back to the main plot. And maybe even the anime, once they get back to the main plot, can add like a little extra content. So maybe instead of like 2 and some change chapters per episode, maybe get like 1 and some change, like 1.5 chapters or something. You're able to kind of like make it move a little bit slower, so the manga can keep a good pace ahead of it. Just because I don't want the manga to catch up and them having to kind of like do stuff last minute in order to keep that gap. That's, I think, what I really don't want, because that's how you run into way more large scale story problems and hiatus issues than just, oh yeah, we're going to take our time before we even get to that point. So, After that, there's some more funny stuff with like Mayor Leona, and there were some nice conversations between some of the characters. But I mean, really, nothing that I had too much kind of like excitement for. My big thing really was Leopold on this episode. I almost said chapter again, but the biggest thing is just this beam. I was really excited to see this because the first thing I thought of was Shin Godzilla. Go watch the atomic breath scene with Shin Godzilla if you haven't before, and you'll understand what I mean. It'll be hype as hell if he does this. And imagine if he can also do it with two hands, and he's just got both hands out and just like swinging them around like Superman shooting his eye beams. That'd be badass. But anyway, other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts are about this episode and what you think is to come up in in Black Clover. I would like to see. I'd like to see. It doesn't have to be a full like multiple episodes. I'd like just to see another dungeon brought up and like characters explored there, and then it's like, oh yeah, they got some magic tools out of there, and then maybe we'll see them in the future of like, yeah, look, this is the magic tool I got from that. Remember? I think that would be cool. I'm still got my fingers crossed on that being what Magnus shows up with. He's just gonna be decked out with magic tools. I'm hoping magic tool guns, shooting little fireballs and stuff, but we'll see. Other than that, don't comment below. Thumbs up the video from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.